there's some famous legends around Popo and the neighboring volcano Iztaccatl. And I was wondering, what does that tell us about the volcano's behavior? And is there something we can learn from those kind of legends?
Well, specifically about Popo, as I said, Popocatepetl means smoking mountain. The neighboring volcano, a few kilometers to the north, is Iztaccatl. Okay. That is also Nahuatl and means sleeping woman. And in prior years, during the winter time, the summit of Iztaccatl was blanketed in white due to the snowfall. And if you would see the volcano from Mexico City or from the city of Puebla, which is on the opposite side of the volcano, it would actually, its profile would look like a lying woman.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. With a chest, the breast, and the feet, the head, and that there's a legend specifically about Iztaccatl and Popocatepetl. It's an Aztec legend that it's a love story between the young princess Iztaccatl and the young prince Popocatepetl, and they get engaged. I don't know, a big wedding is being organized, but then Popo has to go. He's a warrior. He has to go to war, goes into the battlefield against some enemy, and then some rumor is spread that he died in battle. And when Iztaccatl hears about that, she becomes so sad that she lies down and dies. And ever since, she is sleeping or she's dead. But Popo didn't die. He then returns, and since then he guards the corpse of Iztaccatl. Yeah. So that's specific legend about Popo, and well, there are several others. And what it tells you is that there's a general belief that Iztaccatl, if we traduce this into geologic knowledge, Popocatepetl is the active volcano, and Iztaccatl is a dormant or extinct volcano.
Right, I see.
Yeah, and then, but maybe what you referred to is to a creational myth among the Mesoamerican Indians in general, not just the Aztecs. And that is the myth of I think it's called, of the 5 suns. Oh. And accordingly, our solar system, or the Earth, undergoes periodically, or underwent periodically, some big cataclysm that includes the destruction of the sun. But the sun then becomes recreated, and life on Earth also bounces back. So I can't remember now the exact sequence of the cataclysms, but one is, for example, a flooding, a large flood, like in the Bible. And everybody succumbs. The sun disappears, doesn't show up for several days, and then it resurges and life bounces back. And on one of these occasions, then I remember, comes the era of giants. And I think that refers to mammoth bones that are profusely found in the lacustrine basins of central Mexico, because during the last ice age, Mexico, or central Mexico, the central highlands of Mexico, they were essentially a dry and cold steppe with abundant grasslands. So we had horses and I don't know, well, not horses, camelids and mammoths and other grazers, and you can find the bones of them frequently in excavations related to urban growth. And the last sun, that is called the sun of fire. And it essentially what it describes is something that one could interpret as a Plinian eruption. So there's a big explosion.
Okay.
And the sky becomes completely dark. And then the pieces of the exploded sun come down to the earth, rain down or hail down. So that would be the pumice fragments that form the Plinian deposits. And after a few days, a new sun is born and comes out, and life rebounces. So this is but this is a general legend. It does not refer specifically to Popocatepetl. But there are many stratovolcanoes in Mexico, of which we know that they have also experienced the Plinian eruptions. The most recent of which is actually Seboruco, that had a Plinian eruption around Anno Domini 1000, also quite well radiocarbon dated. This Plinian eruption was probably the most voluminous Plinian eruption in Mexico during the Holocene, even more voluminous than those from Popocatepetl. And not to forget, we had the Chichon eruption, which was also a Plinian eruption, only a few decades ago. And I guess that this fifth sun might refer, this fifth sun of this myth, the sun of fire, that this might relate to a Plinian eruption or circumscribe somehow a Plinian eruption.
This is very interesting, actually. I think it's very tempting to think that this cyclicity that is described might even fit to the different major eruptions. I don't know, but when you say that Popo erupted multiple times in the last few millennia, so, and other volcanoes as well, I think people might well get the impression of times that are changing or coming to an end, and then a new episode starting. So this is peculiar and intriguing. I kind of find this very interesting. Now, my next question would have been, is there any long-term hazard message that is wrapped into these legends? And I think you answered the question already. So there is probably something about these large eruptions that can really offset the way we know our surrounding and change life. And then, of course, as you said earlier about Popocatepetl and Iztaccíhuatl, about the active, potentially even angry volcano at times, and the dormant volcano on the other side. So that's, of course, meaning that there was a lot of human observation that has gone into these legends, I would think, and a message that has been, you know, transmitted over many centuries, potentially even longer, millennia. So despite these hazards, and that's the kind of next question I have, despite these seemingly negative experiences that people must have had, what is the benefits the volcanoes provide in the region for the local population? Moving away a little bit from the scary aspects of volcanoes now, looking at the positive aspects, the good sides of volcanoes. How will people, or how do people profit from the volcanic activity and the volcanic landscape and materials in the area?
Oh, well, that is easy to answer. like in many other countries with volcanoes, especially with a mild subtropical climate like Mexico. I mean, for example, also Indonesia or Japan. Around volcanoes, you have quite fertile soils and that are valuable for agriculture. And in addition, volcanoes, like any other mountain, provide water. Essentially, these are water towers. And
so this is the water tower of Mexico City. I see.
Yeah, well, essentially a water tower. And if it's a very porous one made out of lavas and pyroclastic deposits, well, it can hold even more water. And as a result, you have springs and streamlets coming down, with which you can irrigate your fields even during the dry season. So it makes areas around volcanoes, they yield enough food so you can start a civilization.
That sounds very good. And the rock is, of course, very interesting as well. You mentioned that volcanic rock is often very porous and the water can flow through it. But of course, the rock is also a good building material, I would think.
Yes, in central Mexico, essentially, before the advent of concrete, essentially any building was made out of volcanic rock, whether it was a pyramid or the colonial buildings that are made out of welded ignimbrite. I mean, all colonial churches are made out of ignimbrite.
Huh, I see.
And yeah, because it's a stone that is light.
Yeah.
So you can build a house of 2 or 3 stories because it's not so heavy, you know. It's relatively easy to cut into cubes or parallelepipeds. Yeah, you can also use volcanic rocks for making tools. I mean, the oldest tools that mankind has developed are grinding stones, for example, for making flour. And in central Mexico, these grinding stones have since thousands of years been made out of volcanic rock. Not to mention spearheads made out of obsidian or arrowheads, and so on and so forth. So essentially, our central Mexico is culturally impregnated by the products of volcanic activity.
That's my impression indeed. This is why I'm asking you, because this is why I called this little session today Living with Volcanoes, Living with Popo, because when I visited many years back, I felt the whole society was really intergrown with volcanic material, volcanic features, volcanic products, and this was I thought very, very interesting. And so local people have really learned how to use things there and make the best of it.